So hi everyone. Today we are going to do the final session for Tech How-Tos in October. There won't be a class for next week. So the last class for October is how to buy and sell items online. So today I'm going to go over some few applications and websites that are community based, and then two other companies that are worldwide that you can find items that people put on the market, where it may be used clothing, maybe it's some antiques, houseware, glassware, vintage. These are the type of items you'll be able to find on these particular websites. So we are going to go over eBay and Etsy, and then some community-based applications that you can find people selling things in your neighborhood. So this won't be a shopping class, for example, like Amazon or anything like that. It's more towards local of your neighborhood and people selling things there. So let's get started. So before I go over some of the applications that you can use to find items or sell items, I am going to go over two important checklists, a selling checklist and a buying checklist. So if you are someone today that plans on selling things in the future, maybe you have some items that you want to get rid of and they are vintage, or you think they'll go for a good price, this is an important checklist that you should follow. And the number one thing is taking clear photos. So when you are going to sell something, or if you plan on selling something in the future, it is very important that you do take high quality photos of the item from different angles. So let's say if it's a table, right, you want to take a picture of the top, the bottom, the legs, and so on. Maybe even how to put it together. Maybe if there were screws with it, you want to take pictures of that. And all these pictures should have good and clear lighting. The next thing that's really important is an accurate description of what you are selling. So it all should be detailed and accurate. For example, the brand, maybe the size, like the dimensions of it, the width and the height, the condition of it. So if it has scratches or tears, or if it's a brand new unopened product, the color, and so on. So all of those things you need to be able to have ready before you want to post something and others to actually buy it. And lastly, which is really the most important, is just researching the prices, right? It's important that when you are going to put something online for it to sell, that you understand the different prices that that item may be selling, right? So, for example, you can go on Google and just search up the item that you're selling, and then just try to figure out what are other people selling it for. Maybe there's a similar item like that on Amazon that someone's selling it for. Maybe there's other sellers in Etsy that is selling it for the same. So you just want to see what are other people selling it for before you put it on the market. And those are the three rules that you should follow if you are going to plan on trying, to get people to buy your items in the future, whether it may be art, an actual houseware item, glassware, vintage, and so. You can always go online with Google and just search up the item and see what are the prices going for. And if you don't plan on actually trying to sell anything and you just want to be the buyer, these are some also important things that you should know before you buy an item on any of these sites that I show you today. Because just remember that the sites that I'm showing you today, right, they're not going to be from Amazon or Macy's or Target or any of the well-known companies that you're familiar with. The sites that I'm going to show you today are usually your neighbors that are trying to sell some items, or Etsy, which are local businesses. Same with eBay, local businesses or small businesses. So when you are ready to buy something, just make sure that they are a trustworthy seller. So in order to figure out if they are trustworthy, it's very important that you look at their feedback and reputation. And you can do so by reading the reviews or ratings of the person. So if you go on one later today when I show you eBay and Etsy, I'm going to show you how to look at the reviews so you can see whether or not that person has hundreds of views, they sold many products, if they have a lot of 1 or 2 star reviews, if they only sold 2 products in the past 6 months, that's probably not a person that you want to buy an item from. They're probably not trustworthy. They probably are a scammer, or they sell you a product that has tears and wears to it. So it's very important that you read the reviews. The next thing is that you write your shipping address correctly, right? So anytime that you buy something, and this goes for any website, it's always important that you type in your full shipping address accurately with the correct zip code, apartment number, or so on to make sure it's delivered correctly. Another thing is reading the product descriptions carefully, right? So when we are talking about small businesses or even things that our neighbors are going to sell to us, it is important that we read our product descriptions, because even though the picture may look like one thing, you may only be getting sold the accessory of the item, right? So maybe if it's a table, maybe you didn't read the product description correctly, and instead of you getting the table, you're only getting the legs of the table and so on. Or maybe if it's an artwork that you found online, you're only being sold the frame of the artwork and not the actual artwork. Or maybe the artwork is digitally printed and it's not actually made by hand. So those are all the things you have to read before you buy something. Make sure it's what you want and read the important details of it. And finally, right, understanding the return policies. So with these apps and websites I show you today, each person will have a different return policy. Some things are final sale because these are items that people just want to get rid of. They want to sell it for one price and one price only. So there is no return policy. Whereas some people will have a 30-day policy or 15-day return policy. So it's very important that you read that, and I will show you where to find that as well. Does anybody have any questions on this checklist that I went over? You can always unmute yourself if you have a question. Okay, so now it's time to go over just some terms that everyone should know when you are going to be ready to buy or sell an item online. So these are usually the 4 key terms that they ask you to know, and I'm going to go over each of them. So the first one is new, right? So that's the easiest one. Something that is considered new means that it's brand new, unused, and unworn. It's still in its original packaging. So let's say you have a iPad that you want to sell somebody. If you opened up that iPad from its plastic, it's no longer in its box, you played around with the iPad, you downloaded apps on the iPad, that is not considered new, right? Because it's not in its original packaging, it's been used, you took it out of the plastic. If it's a shirt that you're trying to sell or clothing, it has to be still in its packaging, it can't be worn. So that's what new is. Then we have new with other in parentheses. And this means an item with no sign of wear and tear that is missing its original packaging. or the original packaging has been opened and it's no longer sealed. So in this case, if you have items that you want to sell, like a clothing item, and it does not have a wear and a tear, but you have worn it before, you can put it in this category as new parentheses other. So just make sure that there's no holes in it, no scratches, no different, like let's say you spilled something on it, none of that would be considered new other. And then the other two options that we have here are for more tech items. So whether that's a tablet, a phone you want to get rid of, a computer, a keyboard, anything like that. So seller refurbished is a tech item that has been restored to working order by the company. So an example, by the eBay seller or a third party. So I'll give you an example so I can explain this to you. So let's say you have an old laptop and the laptop's screen had a crack in it, right? So what seller refurbished means is that you yourself repaired the laptop screen, or you took it to a third party. So a third party may be a local electronic store that's in your neighborhood, and you told them to fix it. So if your laptop is made by Apple and you went to a local electronic store, that's considered a third party. So anytime you restore your own tech item by yourself or by a local business, that is considered seller refurbished. But when we have something called certified refurbished, that means the tech item is in like new condition, refurbished by the manufacturer. The item will be in new packaging with original or new accessories. So certified refurbished is when you have a brand new laptop, or like a new laptop. So maybe it's been used, but it has been refurbished by the actual company. Let's say Apple. Or if it's not an Apple laptop, we'll say a Dell or so on, HP. It's actually been refurbished by that company. You weren't the person that fixed it. You didn't go to a local business. You actually took it back to Apple, to Dell, to HP to fix it. And these are also good terms to know if you are someone that wants to buy an actual tech item online. Make sure you understand these four keywords. So you are going to see on eBay, especially seller refurbished versus certified refurbished. Does anybody have any questions on those terms? Okay. So let's go over eBay. Has anyone ever used eBay before to buy or sell anything online? I don't think anyone here today have. Maybe, I don't know. I saw someone raise their hand. Maybe someone has before. But I'm gonna explain how does buying work on eBay, right? So eBay is a large company that's been around for since the early 90s that has had sellers create listings to put items on there, whether that's clothing, electronics, houseware, vintage things. They have a bunch of stuff on eBay to sell. And most of these sellers are actually just local people like you and me, or local small businesses. However, recently eBay has partnered with larger companies to sell items on there. So for example, Adidas puts their own products on eBay. So some of their older products from years ago are being sold on eBay, and it's actually the official Adidas. They have partnered with them. It's not like a fake business or a third party business. It's the actual Adidas company. But and other times you're going to mostly see just small local businesses on eBay. So eBay has two ways that you can purchase something on there. They have a buy it now feature. With the buy it now feature, you pay a fixed price and buy the item immediately, right? So that's the final price, $20, $30, so on. That's it. That's what you pay for. But sometimes you can actually bid on an item and try to win it for a lower price in an auction. So you could make an offer of the price you would like to pay. And sometimes as well, right, in these auctions, always the higher bidder wins the item. Usually you would see this in very vintage clothes or vintage electronics, vintage items, or like china glassware or things for the kitchen or anything like that. You may see that people are making a bid to trying to get it. But just be careful that when you put a bid and you bid very highly, that's it. That's the price that you're willing to pay for. You can negotiate after you bid on an item, right? So you can't keep changing your bid for a lower price. It could only go higher. Any questions on that? So I am going to go over and show you eBay at the ending of the class today. I'm going to actually go on the website, but just know that eBay can be on a computer, a laptop, tablet, and a smartphone. And as well, right, with eBay, you can as well sell things on there. Like I said, make sure you have your clear photos, actual descriptions. Another thing that I didn't mention before we go over to Etsy, if you are going to sell something on eBay or with Etsy, which is the next slide, just know that these two companies do take a portion of the price when you sell something. And it does cost money to actually post an item on either eBay or listing. They take about 25 cents, 50 cents to post the listing on the actual website. And the longer that it's there and it's not selling, that also costs a portion of your final um, product. So just know with these two, they do take a portion out of the final price. Etsy, right, is different than eBay because Etsy is more known for small businesses that only create unique goods. So that can be handmade goods, vintage items, and even craft supplies. So like paintbrushes, things to do different types of art, all the different brushes, the crayons, and so on. You can also see that on Etsy, but then you would just have those handmade goods, vintage items. So, for example, if you do see things like for the house, like houseware, maybe you see some tables or chairs, usually it is vintage made through these small businesses. And I have used Etsy in the past. I've used it to get like mostly clothes from Etsy because they're uniquely made. You can have clothes that say like unique words on them. Maybe you the holidays are coming up. You could get like holiday themed clothes that can match your whole family. It's more catered towards personalizing your actual item. So you could get your name on it, a saying, a message. Maybe it's like an anniversary that's coming up. All of those things you can get with Etsy. Whereas with eBay, it's more just like selling items that you kind of need to get rid of in your house. Etsy is more catered towards creating something that is going to be used creatively for a personalized message or maybe a personalized drawing of your pet or family member and create it into an actual item. And same thing with selling on Etsy. If you are someone that plans on selling items. Maybe someone here today has a creative talent for sewing or knitting and you want to sell any of those things. I would recommend using that for Etsy because Etsy is all about creating a name for yourself and creating a brand. So with Etsy, you have to choose your own shop name and you stick with that name. So let's say for like me, right, on Etsy, I would create a shop name, Rosa, and then everything would be under that brand name. Etsy allows you to ship your orders with USPS, FedEx, or Canada Post right from your Etsy shop. But just be aware because with Etsy, right, they have a bunch of selling fees. They have a listing fee, a transaction fee, and a payment processing fee. And if you feel like no one is buying things from your shop, you can also pay for an advertising fee. So you can start getting ads sent out to different customers so people can buy your items. I would say that Etsy does have more fees than eBay, so just be aware if you are planning today to try to start a business and sell things online from either your artwork or anything like that, that they do take a portion out of the final price. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, right. So exactly the same thing with Etsy, right? If you are someone that plans on selling on Etsy, same thing like I've been saying, you would post your item with the pictures. You describe what the item is, select the type of brand it is, if it's a piece of artwork, if it's a vintage good, it's if a craft supply, write the physical details about the item, the color, the dimensions. Choose whether to use the fixed price format or an auction. So with Etsy, you can also bid on an item. Same thing, you select which shipping options are available to the buyer. Always make sure you have a return policy. And for Etsy, right, your listing lasts for 4 months or until the item is sold. So if after 4 months no one has still brought your item, you have to start paying more fees with Etsy to keep the item still on their platform. So just be aware when you are selling that they do have fees again. So that's Etsy and eBay. I'm going to show you them at the ending of the presentation. And those are the two well-known companies that are used for selling some unique items that you may have in your household or buying items that you want to have personalized for yourself. And those are worldwide. So on both of those platforms, you will see things from other countries that are people are being sold. But in the next slide, I'm going to just show you applications that are used only to sell and buy things within your community. So as we see here, we have 3 applications, and these are the ones that I recommend because they are the easiest to use. There are some other apps that exist, but they can get a bit complicated and have more rules to it. So I decided to choose these 3 because they're the easiest. So we have Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, and Nextdoor. And all of these 3 apps are places that either you could choose the location of where you want to sell or buy something. So if you live in Riverdale, you can see all the items that are being sold on Riverdale. Or if you want to sell something yourself, you can choose your location as Riverdale and so on. And with all these 3 applications, they do not take any fee. So that is what's good about them, right? So when you post something to actually be sold, if you plan on trying to sell something in your house, right? Facebook is not going to take any fees of the final Price, nor is OfferUp or Nextdoor. So that's what's good about these three. So let's start with the first one, which is Facebook Marketplace. So Facebook Marketplace is free to list and has no fees, but there are guidelines you need to follow when you sell on the platform. So with Facebook Marketplace, they have a very long list of the items that you are allowed to sell on Facebook. You cannot sell any services on Facebook. So if you're someone that's like a handyman, or if you want to do dog sitting and you want to promote your service, this is not an application to do that. It has to be an actual physical item. And there are more guidelines with the actual items to sell. So just when you go into Facebook Marketplace, you will see the guidelines before you start shopping or selling on the platform. OfferUp is another application that I have actually used and actually sold something on OfferUp, and it works the same way with OfferUp, right? You can buy or sell things through the app. They do not take any of the fees, and you have to negotiate and set up a location to meet. So one thing that I didn't mention is with all these apps, you have to negotiate your price and set up a location to actually meet the person. Facebook Marketplace is the only exception that allows some items to be shipped to the person. However, OfferUp and Nextdoor, you do have to negotiate a price and set up a location. So I would recommend to get a location that is in public. If you have something large and you feel like you can't take it downstairs, ask a friend or family member or neighbor to help you. I would never recommend to tell somebody what your address is and tell them to come to your apartment and pick up the item. You should always go somewhere that's public, like a park, maybe across the street, but never give them your actual location of where you live to meet up. And Nextdoor works the same exact way. There's no listing fees, and you do have to meet the buyers in person. So same thing, you have to set up your price and you tell them exactly where do you want to meet. And with all three of these apps, you do not have to actually give them your phone number. You can talk to them within the app. Each of these apps have an actual messaging tab where you can communicate with the buyer or the seller right inside the app. So you do not, if you give them your phone number, and they're a scammer, Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, or Nextdoor does not have a record of your conversation. They are no longer responsible for what happens when your conversation leaves their own app and goes into the messaging app within your phone or in WhatsApp. Anything that you tell somebody in WhatsApp or in email, they are no longer responsible for that. That's why it's always important that you only contact them through the actual OfferUp app, the actual Nextdoor app, the actual Facebook website. So then in cases of they're a scammer or anything happens, you can show them that as a record that this is what they said, this is who they are, and this is what happened. Does anybody have any questions on that? So I'm just going to go over some rules of how to stay safe. And then we are going to go over and look at some of these websites and apps, right? So because you may be using some of these local community apps like Facebook Marketplace or OfferUp or Nextdoor, it's always important, right, that before you agree to meet up, to look at their profile and to read the reviews. So same thing with eBay, same thing with Etsy. Every single platform that I told you today, you can read the reviews of the person. So if they only have one review, two reviews, I would not recommend buying from that person. And the reason why is, okay, if they only have two 5-star reviews, What that is telling me is that probably they asked a friend or family member to write that review for them. You want to make sure they have more than 10 reviews, and that they are positive reviews, right? And when you see something that's only one, it's probably that they ask someone that they know, hey, just write this review for me so I can get people to try to buy my stuff, right? So just be aware with low reviews, right? Always agree to meet up in a well-known public area. So for me, I sold one of my games, Nintendo Switch, that's a game console, and we met up in front of Target, right? So I don't live near Target. So I had to take a car over there to Target, and I was able to make the transaction there with the person. It should and in Target, right, has a lot of people, a lot of traffic going by. There's people around, so it always should be in a well-known public area. You should not meet them in a street that no one goes by, or in your actual apartment, or never in front of your apartment building, even if it's, someone that says they live in the neighborhood for 50 years. It's very important that you just never give your actual address. Same thing with that, right? With personal information, never share your financial information, even if you are going to use eBay or Etsy, right? If the seller is contacting you and telling you they need your bank information to make this work, or they need your password to make it work, that is a scam, right? So never respond to any of those messages. But I think that everyone here today knows that from all the times they've been to my classes. We know not to give somebody our password or our financial information. And last thing I already made clear before was that avoid communicating with anyone outside of the company's app or website, right? Because if you leave the app to talk in your email, you no longer have a record of that conversation. When you have a record of your conversation, it will be helpful in a case that you need to get your money back if you ever get scammed. Always stay and talk with them within the actual app. Does anybody have any questions before I show you some of the apps and websites? Okay. So, right. Oh, yeah. One last thing, right? Because I did this class on Tuesday, many of them asked me about a customer service, or is there a phone number we can just call to purchase, right? So these apps that I show you today, there really is not a actual phone number that you can call, right? There's no like, oh, I need help with Etsy. Let me just call this number up and buy the item that way. In order to actually contact the companies, the first thing you are going to do is talk with a chat bot. And I think that everyone here today may know what a chatbot is, right? That's like you're talking to a robot where they say, "How can I help you?" and you list out what what you need help with. But then eventually you do get connected with an agent, but it's all through actually typing on the computer, or typing on your phone. However, with eBay, when you do connect with an agent on your cell phone, smartphone, on the app, or on the computer, they eventually will call you. So yes, eBay will call you, but they do not have a number that you can call them. But they can call you if you do need help with a specific thing of an item. Let's say you are trying to bid on an item, or you want to get an item that's final sale, they will talk to you. However, Facebook Marketplace does not have an option to call customer service, and they do not have an option to even chat with someone online, chat with an agent. So just be aware that if you are going to use Facebook Marketplace, be very careful with any scams and make sure you go over the rules that I told you today. The only thing that you can do with Facebook Marketplace is just report an issue or report a seller. So if you feel like someone is a scammer, you can report them on Facebook, but you can't actually chat with somebody that is an employee from Facebook Marketplace. And with OfferUp and Nextdoor, you can both email the two companies. And I have used Nextdoor to email them, and they are very quick with emails. Less than 5 hours, they will contact you back. And OfferUp says that they will get back to you within 24 hours. So I just wanted to make that known before I showed the apps and websites that um there really isn't a phone number to call these companies. Okay, so we are going to now just look at eBay, Etsy, OfferUp, so you can just see how the website looks like, what to look out for when there's a scam, and so on, right? So this is eBay. eBay is worldwide. Once again, it has many items that is either refurbished by the actual eBay company, refurbished by Apple. They have electronics, jewelry, toys, clothes, vintage items like trading cards, if you're trading cards for sports and things like that. They have a bunch of things on there where people either bid or do a final sale. So if we just look at some things, you can see as I scroll down, they got some vintage stuff. They have some clothes. And then they have different categories that we can choose of what exactly we are looking for. And just to make it known, remember that I did say there are some actual brands like Adidas that actually partners with eBay and sells older products on eBay. So there are some official brands on eBay that you will see things. But let's just click on something, maybe one of these collectibles. Let's just click on one of them. So we can see exactly what to look out for and things like that, okay? So let's get any item. Let's say this one right here. This is a vintage frame stock certificate that's going for $89. And as I look at it, right, I could tell right away this is not a bidding item. This is buy it now, right? Buy it now means that's the final price. It's $89. There is no bid. I cannot negotiate. This is what it is. If I look next to it, I can see the seller information, right? So if we look closely at the red circle, it says who is selling it, Scott Philly, 357. 357 means how many reviews he has. So that's good, right? Over 300 people have gone to this person to buy items from them. So you can be sure that it's not a scammer. He doesn't have one or two reviews. He has almost 400 reviews of people saying they probably, had a good service with that person, 100% positive feedback. Another thing, right, that's also important to look at when you are going to buy something on eBay is, right, the return policy. So if we look under where it says shipping, delivery, returns, the last thing we are going to look at is returns. And you can see right here for this product, yes, you have 30 days to return the product. Some of them are not going to say 30 days. Some of them are going to say final sale. So always just make sure you read these things before you actually hit buy now, because it would be horrible if you bought something and it was damaged and you could not return it. Okay, so that's one item. Let's look at just one more item to see if maybe it says something else so we can just look at the differences between the two. Let's just see this camera. Okay, so another one here, the camera. This person has even more reviews, over 10,000 reviews. It's going very fast. It has limited quantity. So a lot of people are shopping for it. If we look down as well, always look at their seller information, right? That's the first thing you should always look at, their seller information. Always look at that first. And then we just scroll down to see once again if they have delivery and returns. And this one here, right? This person has free shipping. The other product that we were looking at, you had to pay $15 for shipping. So if you are someone that is concerned about the shipping price, and make sure you read that too. But all of this here is very important to read before you make your final decision. And even with this one here, you also have an additional service. You can pay for a protection plan. So if you damage the camera, you get a warranty for 1 year. Does anybody have any questions so far with what I'm doing? Okay, good. So we are going to go over now Etsy. Just, when you are going to do eBay, if you plan on doing in the future, just look at those two things, the seller and the return policy. So now if we go over to Etsy, we can see the layout is almost similar, but as we look at some of the items, many of them are, right, personalized. And we could even see that from the product description here. If I give everything like a red line under it, we can see that everything on Etsy says personalized, personalized. Many of these things you can tell them what your name is, and they change the product of how it looks like, right? So if we just look at this cup right here, this is a personalized coffee cup that you can put your own name on it. And you're going to see this with many of the products that are here on Etsy, where this is an option that you can do. And you can also even change the flower of what you want on the cup. And you can see right here on the side, it gives you those options right away. The birth flower, and add your personalization, where you can say what you want to have. Many of the products have this. Some of them, where it's like home and living, they're not always personalized, but in most cases they are. And once again, right, let's look at the stars and the reviews of the person. So here they have 5 stars. And if we just scroll down a bit, we can actually read the reviews of the person, of multiple people who have gotten it. So over 5,000 people have reviewed their shop, and these are people commenting of how their service went, their experience with from beginning to end, and how it came. And lastly, once again, what's always important is to read if they have a return policy. So it says returns and exchanges accepted within 14 days. Just go back for a second. Once again, what is OfferUp, right? OfferUp is a more community-based application or website, right? You could also use this on a phone or tablet. And with OfferUp, right, you want to see what people are selling near you in the neighborhood, right? If we look closely right now, it put it at Stanford, right? So if I brought something from Stanford, right, I couldn't meet up with them. So it's always important that with the community apps like OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace, or Nextdoor, that you change the location to where you live so you can find items in your neighborhood. So I'm going to change where it says Stanford, and I'm going to put the zip code of Riverdale 10463. And instead of 30 miles away, I'm gonna change it to 5 miles because I don't want to see things that are 30 miles away from Riverdale. I'll just do 5 miles max. And that's the shortest you can do. So now that I've changed my settings, I've changed the location. Now I can see what's being sold near me. And let's say you do get something that slips in, like this item here. It says Miami, Florida. The only reason why this slipped in is because if we look with the arrow, it means that this person is willing to ship it to you. So that's the reason why a Miami, Florida icon is there. But in the other options, right, we do see that there's some Yonkers, Bronx that are close to us. Um, right? It's very important that, for example, when you are buying things from community apps, so things that are from OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace, Nextdoor, you do want to do some research to see if the item is legitimate. Like, let's say Versace, you want to make sure it is the real from the brand Versace. Sometimes people will provide the receipt of things. This person also in the description, they said willing to meet at a glass store just in case you need proof of authenticity. So they're willing to actually go to the store to ask the person at the glassware store about whether the numbers that they read are authentic. Whereas, I mean, if you want to go through that trouble and actually go to the store, you can do that. Let's see what this person says that are selling Prada sunglasses. So this person here that's selling Prada sunglasses, they did not write anything in the description. They did not say that they are willing to go to any store. They're not providing really a receipt of where they got it from. So just be aware that when you are looking at items, look at each picture, look at the description of they're saying, see if they're willing to show a receipt with that item, because if not, it may not be genuine. So that's why when you are going to go to OfferUp, I wouldn't, or Facebook Marketplace or Nextdoor, I would not personally recommend using it to buy things like Versace or Prada sunglasses. I would just use it to buy like miscellaneous items that you may need, right? Like a bike, right? You could get it here. Drum kit, sure, why not? And they are selling a lot of cars as well, same thing. Make sure that you meet up, read the mileage of that. Clothes, that's fine. TV's fine, couch fine. But things that are like that you know could go and be very expensive, things like a laptop, make sure that they provide a receipt that they provide that it's brand new and empty. Like here, again, they did not provide anything of the description of this laptop. They did not tell me how old it is, whether they have cleaned it up. Like if I look at the picture here, I can see that someone's account name is still on the laptop. So just beware when you want to buy something that is a bit expensive. Make sure,
Tabitha,
yes.
I noticed that they're selling a student Metro card for $60 that the students get for free. You have to be careful.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That these applications that are more community based can be sketchier than eBay and Etsy because once again, these are your neighbors that are posting it. They do not have actual like offer up employees that are constantly looking at each listing. So yes, correct. Things like that, MetroCard, just be careful with what people are posting on here. And this is in the Riverdale, Bronx, New York, 5 miles range of those are who are selling these products.
You know, student Metro cards are given to the students for free, and they have serial numbers on them. And if an adult tries to use them, you could have a lot of problems.
I know. That's why I said to be careful. Yes, correct. Just be very cautious with what you're looking for. I would only recommend to stuff that is on the neighborhood community applications like clothing items, sneakers, an Alexa, anything like that. That's fine. Furniture, things like that is safe to get on there. But nothing that's like electronics, a phone from your neighbor. I wouldn't recommend any of that on these platforms. All right then. So thank you everybody for coming today. I hope you enjoyed some of these applications. If you ever want to use them in the future, just check them out. And please be cautious when you are ready to buy something on one of those apps.